I want a divorce. I found someone who actually makes me happy. My name is Nathan Bell. I'm 45, and I work as a financial systems analyst for Orbis Union in Richmond, Virginia. That message arrived while I was seated at my desk on a Wednesday morning, meticulously rechecking a client's fraud detection algorithms. My wife, Dana, was supposed to be attending a marketing seminar in Dallas. 3 days, she'd said. Routine. The phone buzzed again. I've already moved the retirement savings into my personal account. You can keep the house. I don't need it anymore. I set my coffee cup down, opened my banking app, and reviewed the balances. Something was already wrong, but not in the way she assumed. I typed back, I hope you're happy. That was it. No debate. No begging. Just 7 words. The next hour, I spent monitoring transaction updates across 3 different system dashboards. Every shared account we owned was routed through a consolidated oversight platform, one I had personally developed. Retirement, investments, emergency savings, even the checking account Dana believed was hers alone. When she initiated those transfers, she unknowingly triggered several fraud detection protocols. The system didn't concern itself with emotions or relationship status. It saw 6 figures moving without proper dual-party approval, and federal anti-fraud safeguards responded instantly. By noon, my phone lit up, not with messages from Dana, but from the receiving institution. Account review initiated. Deposits on hold pending investigation. I didn't grin, didn't rejoice. I simply dismissed the notifications and returned to my tasks. Someone else's financial stability required my attention. Dana's phone would start buzzing soon enough. She'd attempt to access the funds and find the balance frozen. The system doesn't sympathize with bad choices. I'd learned that watching corporate accounts get locked during questionable transactions. Money doesn't care about affection, betrayal, or timing. It follows regulations, and Dana had just broken everyone. We'd been married 22 years. High school sweethearts from Petersburg. Even back then, I was the numbers guy, calculating baseball strike rates, logging class fundraiser totals penny by penny. Dana was the social one. Everything a marketing expert should be. Outgoing, convincing, constantly networking. You're too cautious with money, she'd tell me after I triple-checked our tax documents. Someone has to be, I'd reply. It had worked for years. I managed the finances while she advanced her career at Valerie Marketing Group. She traveled frequently, workshops in Austin, seminars in Phoenix. Always networking, always working. The warning signs appeared slowly, like fog over a lake. 6 months ago, she stopped asking about retirement projections. 3 months ago, she opened a credit card without mentioning it. 2 weeks back, she commented our guest room was too cluttered. Who even visits anymore? She'd asked. My sister noticed the change at Thanksgiving. She seems distant, she said. Just work stress, I'd replied. But Dana wasn't stressed. She was strategizing. Meanwhile, I was maintaining our integrated financial tracking system, a tool I designed after a client company lost millions due to a failed audit. Dana had been studying it too, trying to find its weaknesses, but the system had none. Every account was linked, every movement monitored, not out of mistrust, but from habit. After years of identifying fraud patterns and understanding how money shifts when people want to hide it. Tuesday night, before she left for Dallas, she'd shown an unusual interest in our retirement figures. How much do we have in total? She asked over dinner. About $800,000 between us, I said. Why? Just curious. Now, that curiosity made sense. She'd been calculating her escape plan. I considered calling her mother, her best friend Patricia, my own parents. But what would I even say? Your daughter tried to clean out our retirement accounts and got caught by a fraud detection system. It sounded like something from a daytime drama. Instead, I made dinner, watched the news, and checked the alerts again. The transfers remained suspended. The fraud probe would take 5 to 7 business days, possibly longer, depending on the findings. Dana had bet on speed, assumed she could drain everything before I noticed, before the system flagged it. She'd forgotten one thing. In 22 years, I'd never overlooked a single financial detail. The call came Friday morning at 11:30. Nathan, my card's not working, she said, her voice carrying that subtle tension I recognized from her failed presentations. calm panic masked by fake annoyance. What's your balance? Zero. How is it zero? I transferred. You're right about that. I cut in. I heard her exhale, then pause. What did you do? Nothing. I answered truthfully. The fraud detection system flagged unusual activity from protected retirement accounts. Federal rules require a review for large withdrawals without proper dual authorization. More silence. How long? 5 to 7 business days. Maybe longer if they uncover problems. She hung up. I sat in my home office, staring at the fraud alerts, sipping my coffee. Something inside me had shifted. Not rage, not even betrayal, just clarity. For over 2 decades, I'd safeguarded our financial future, saved diligently, invested smartly, created tools to prevent disasters before they happened. And the woman I'd done it all for tried to take everything and vanish. But it wasn't the money that stung. It was the surgical precision of her betrayal. A text message, a transfer, goodbye, like closing a corporate account. I pulled up our investment portfolio. Without Dana's transfers, our retirement remained untouched. The house we bought 5 years ago for $300,000 was now worth nearly $500,000. My modest personal stocks, held in separate accounts, were stable. Our savings bonds, everything still intact, protected by the protocols I had created while she was away at networking events. By Friday afternoon, my phone displayed 23 messages from Dana. I didn't open any of them. What was left to say? The divorce attorney I met with on Saturday was empathetic but straightforward. File immediately. Document everything. Her attempted financial misconduct will be advantageous to your case. I filed on Monday morning. Straightforward paperwork. No alimony requests. No division of unaffected assets. Just divorce. The house remained in my name. I hadn't touched our shared checking account. I left it with its balance of $3,000. Dana could have that. By Tuesday, the reality had settled in. I wasn't someone who sought revenge, never had been. But I also wasn't foolish. The very systems I had designed to safeguard our clients at Orbit Union had ended up protecting me. Banking algorithms don't care about wedding vows. They care about patterns, authorization, and compliance. And Dana had violated every regulation while thinking she was being smart. I went back to work, had lunch at my desk, and reviewed other fraud reports. The irony wasn't lost on me. That weekend, I cleared out the guest room Dana had once criticized. I donated her old books and packed up the photographs, not out of resentment, but practicality. The life I had known ended with a single text message, but the systems I had built held strong. Sometimes the best contingency plans are the ones you hope you'll never have to use. And sometimes they save you effortlessly. Dana hired Patricia Martinez as her legal representative. I knew Patricia from neighborhood BBQs, always the one going on about loopholes and legal tricks. They filed a motion claiming I had orchestrated the account freeze intentionally. Your husband leveraged his financial expertise to deliberately restrict marital assets, the documents claimed. I sat down with my lawyer, William Brooks from West Hill Legal, a former banker himself. He reviewed the motion and chuckled. They're alleging misconduct? He shook his head. A bold tactic considering the fraud alerts were triggered automatically, not by manual interference. The court hearing was scheduled for 2 weeks later. Meanwhile, Dana called the house 17 times on Sunday night. I finally picked up. Nathan, you need to call the bank. Tell them the transfers were authorized. I'm stuck out here. Where is here? Phoenix. I'm staying with friends. Phoenix? I thought you were in Dallas. Silence. It's complicated. I'm sure it is. Did you reach out to your conference coordinator or your boss at Valerie? Don't start. Just curious, since you're supposedly attending a professional seminar. Click. Monday brought surprising updates. My fraud detection systems flagged new activity. Dana had attempted to open credit cards using our joint address. 3 applications in 2 days. All were denied due to the active fraud inquiry. She was now locked in a financial trap of her own creation. No access to funds, credit frozen, mobility limited to whatever cash she had left. On Tuesday, Patricia phoned me directly. This is getting out of hand, Nathan. Your wife needs access to basic living expenses. She's welcome to use the joint checking account. $3,000 is sitting there, untouched. That's hardly sufficient. It's the same amount we've always kept for emergencies. She considered $800,000 fair to transfer without a word. Patricia hung up. Wednesday delivered further revelations from unexpected sources. Alan Murphy, Dana's supervisor at Valerie, called with concerns. Was Dana truly at her Dallas event? HR has no record of her registration. I thought briefly of covering for her, of preserving her reputation. Instead, I answer plainly. You'll have to ask her. She hasn't returned any of my messages. We've also noticed some inconsistencies in her reimbursement claims. My stomach dropped. The betrayal wasn't only personal, it was professional too. I can't comment on that. Understood. But if she reaches out to you, never mind. Thank you, Nathan. The fraud investigation deepened. Bank officials reached out to me directly. Sir, we've identified multiple questionable transfers between corporate and personal accounts, spanning the past 18 months, all originating from the same workstation IP address. Dana hadn't just stolen from our household. She'd been siphoning company funds. My previously ordered life was now in ruins. Every pillar I had trusted, marriage, loyalty, basic honesty, felt broken. But I hadn't pushed her into wrongdoing. I had merely constructed the systems that revealed it once it happened. Thursday morning, Patricia submitted an emergency request for Dana's living expenses. The judge scheduled a hearing for Friday. I prepared meticulously. I printed financial statements, fraud notifications, and historical transfer data. My training in finance took over. Facts matter more than accusations. That night, Dana sent a message. I'm sorry it came to this. I didn't reply. Apologies following attempted theft carry no weight. Friday was cold and overcast. At the courthouse, I saw Dana for the first time since her so-called work trip. She looked diminished, pale, fragile. Why? She whispered in the hallway. Why what? Why did I detect it? Why did the system work? Why did you try to take everything? She had no answer. The hearing lasted 20 minutes. The judge reviewed the fraud documentation, acknowledged the automated nature of the account holds, and ruled that access to the joint checking account was sufficient during the investigation. Dana walked out empty-handed. Her own trap had snapped shut on her. The following Monday brought an unexpected visitor. Gregory Harris, an investigator from Eastern Financial Compliance, appeared in my office. Mr. Bell, we've uncovered clear signs of ongoing fraud involving your wife and several business accounts. We'd like your assistance. I'm not part of this. We know, he said. That's precisely why we need your help. Your personal fraud detection system flagged patterns we had overlooked. Over coffee in our conference room, Gregory explained the scope. Dana hadn't acted alone. Thomas Wade, another executive at Valerie Marketing, had assisted in establishing a complicated network of fund transfers. They had been funneling corporate marketing funds into personal accounts for nearly 2 years. Your system triggered several alerts that led us to audit their entire division. How much? I asked. Preliminary estimate, $2 million across multiple accounts. I felt nauseated. While I had been monitoring our personal finances with precision, my wife had been orchestrating a corporate embezzlement operation. The betrayal extended far beyond a broken marriage. What happens now? A federal investigation. Your personal accounts are already being separated from the corporate fraud case, but we'll need documentation proving your lack of involvement or knowledge. I submitted everything: tax filings, personal financial records, a full audit trail for my monitoring systems. Every document confirmed I had built these safeguards for protection, not to facilitate theft. That evening, Dana sent a message. They're saying it's federal charges. They think I took millions. I didn't reply. What could I even say? Tuesday unveiled more disturbing developments. Our realtor, James Everett, reached out about suspicious inquiries. Someone's been asking about listing your home. Pre-approved cash buyer. Offered $300,000. Claimed to represent you and your wife. $300,000, the price we had paid 5 years ago. Thomas Wade made those inquiries. How do you know that name? The puzzle came together. Dana and Thomas weren't just stealing money. They had plotted to purchase our home at its old value using a proxy buyer, then resell it at current market value, $500,000, and pocket the difference. A full exit plan disguised as a real estate transaction. On Wednesday, I met with Detective Sarah Flynn from the Richmond Financial Crimes Unit. She confirmed the emerging pattern. They targeted properties owned by company employees, created artificial market demand to force sales below market value. Your system caught transfer irregularities that exposed the entire operation. How many victims? 12 families so far. Yours offers the clearest trail of evidence. I thought of those 12 families. People like me, careful planners, trustful partners, rule followers, blindsided while others manipulated the system. On Thursday, Dana's attempt to access frozen assets through an emergency court motion failed. Her lawyer asked for a meeting. Your client needs to prepare for a federal indictment, William Brooks explained. The investigation has extended beyond marital finances. Patricia looked rattled. Federal wire fraud, conspiracy, potential RICO charges if they prove a sustained criminal enterprise. Dana now faced serious prison time, not just for stealing from me, but for systematically defrauding her employer and coordinating real estate fraud. That evening, I forwarded every document to the U.S. Attorney's Office, fraud alerts, monitoring logs, evidence logs, everything my systems had gathered. I hadn't created those systems for retribution, but they had exposed a crime far larger than personal infidelity. Justice isn't born from anger. It's built on evidence, patterns, systems created to expose truth. And sometimes, truth destroys more than just relationships. I testified before the grand jury Thursday morning. My delivery was clear, direct, and emotionless as I explained how my financial monitoring system operated. Alerts were triggered automatically at 3 a.m. when transfers exceeded predefined limits. No manual input needed. The prosecutor appreciated the technical clarity. Did you ever access your wife's accounts without her knowledge? No. The system only monitored our joint accounts. I built it to detect unusual behavior in our shared finances. 2 hours of testimony. Every alert, every protocol, every method used to differentiate between routine and suspicious activity. Dana's potential punishment became more tangible. The U.S. Attorney's Office presented the charges. Multiple counts of wire fraud, conspiracy, and embezzlement. Minimum of 20 years if convicted. After my testimony, I returned directly to Orbis Union. My team leader, Michelle Chong, had been managing investigator calls all week. They want a full audit of our systems, she said. Everything Dana accessed. We spent Friday compiling 3 years of financial data. Every login, every transaction, every system entry Dana had used to build her scheme. None of us saw this coming, Michelle said softly. No one did. That's why we build systems like these. The weekend brought a strange sense of calm. Federal agents confiscated Dana and Thomas's devices. Phones, laptops, external storage. The mountain of evidence grew hourly. Sunday afternoon, Patricia called. Nathan, Dana wants to provide names related to larger financial crimes in exchange for reduced charges. That's between her and the prosecutors. They may ask about your marriage for character testimony. I paused. Tell them our marriage ended when she tried to steal our retirement. The rest is just accounting. Monday, I received formal notice. The marital portion of the investigation was closed. All retirement funds would be returned to their original accounts. The joint checking account would be divided equally. $3,000, half of what Dana once claimed was essential for basic living expenses. Tuesday marked the conclusion. Federal indictments were issued. Dana, Thomas, and 5 other Valerie employees were charged with running a coordinated financial fraud ring across Virginia. At the bail hearing, more was revealed. Under federal guidelines, flight risk meant no bail. Dana would remain behind bars until trial. That night, she texted from jail. I never meant for it to go this far. For the first time, I answered. You never meant to get caught. Wednesday, the U.S. attorney proposed plea deals, shorter sentences for full cooperation. Dana now had a choice: 20 years or testify against Thomas and the broader network. That evening, I cleared out her office at home. Boxes of marketing materials, files, printed spreadsheets. At the bottom of one drawer, I found a notebook. It listed property values, real estate estimates, a dozen addresses, targets, our house among them. She had planned it all, just like I would have, but for theft instead of protection. Thursday afternoon, the divorce proceedings resumed. Her incarceration complicated everything. Your wife is willing to surrender all marital property, her new public defender explained, in return for your testimony regarding her character. I've already testified about everything I know, the financial systems, the fraud alerts. She's asking for personal testimony about your marriage. I considered it. 22 years. The person I thought I knew. The schemes I never imagined. I'll testify about what I observed. Nothing more. William filed the papers confirming the agreement. House remained mine, retirement accounts restored, modest alimony denied. Federal sentencing would make it irrelevant anyway. Friday, I received a handwritten letter from jail. I got lost in the money. Started seeing how easy it was. Thomas said the systems could be bypassed. I believed him over you. I am sorry. I placed the letter in my file cabinet. Evidence of confession, not reconciliation. The systems I'd built kept functioning, automated, impartial, identifying crimes while relationships disintegrated. The federal trial lasted 17 days. I testified twice, first about the financial systems, then about my marriage. Did you ever suspect your wife's professional activities? No. I trusted her. When did that trust end? When my fraud detection system caught her trying to move our retirement funds without authorization. The jury listened carefully. Dana appeared smaller with each passing day, her complexion paler, her designer clothes replaced by standard jail uniform. On day 12, Thomas Wade broke. He took a plea deal, full cooperation in exchange for 7 years instead of 25. He detailed it all: marketing, budget embezzlement, real estate manipulation schemes, a web of executives across 3 states. Dana's role? The coordinator. She managed the books, tracked every movement, ensured nothing appeared suspicious on internal reports. Ironic, she'd learned financial discipline from watching me, then repurposed it for crime instead of safeguarding. The prosecution played recorded phone calls. Dana's voice was unmistakable. Nathan's too focused on his own systems. I never check my work accounts. My wife of 22 years betting on my boundaries to shield her misconduct. Day 17 brought the verdict, guilty. 12 counts of wire fraud, 8 counts of conspiracy, 2 counts of embezzlement. Sentencing scheduled for 6 weeks later. I exited the courthouse and went straight to my truck. No press, no statements, just drove home. The financial system had done its job, exposed the fraud, delivered the evidence, ensured justice. Not revenge, just consequences. 2 months after sentencing, Dana received 18 years. Thomas got 9. I sold the house, $500,000 after fees. More than enough for a fresh start. I kept my position at Orbit Union in Richmond, enhanced my fraud detection protocols, added features specifically targeting corporate theft. These updates could save other companies millions, Michelle reported. That's the goal. The divorce concluded quietly. No disputes. Dana's guilty plea removed, all contention. I signed the final documents as she began her prison sentence. William called with an update. Full restitution granted. My retirement savings permanently safeguarded. I bought a smaller home in Norfolk. 1 story. Simple. No guest rooms to fill. No ghosts of 22 squandered years. Started teaching part-time at Old Dominion University, a course on financial fraud detection. Twice a week. Real cases. Real insights. Trust but verify, I told my students. Systems protect when people fail. Occasionally, letters arrived from prison. Dana's regret growing in solitude. I never responded. Never visited. Never forgave. Not out of cruelty, just clarity. The systems functioned without emotion. Algorithms detected trends. Math revealed truth. I learned to live the same way. 3 years later, my morning routine was set: coffee, a light breakfast, market updates, then drives to work with occasional detours. Sometimes I passed Valerie marketing groups, new building while running errands. 12 families had received restitution. They learned to guard their trust. Life went on. Structured, logical, protected. The lesson endures. Betrayal happens. Theft exists, but systems remain. And sometimes, justice comes not from emotion, but from formulas. I made peace with that. Mathematics.